Hi, I'm Gloria McClary, and welcome to the show. I'm with We the People, for the people. And today my special guest is Michael Marsh, a longtime candidate and activist. Been doing this for quite a while, and we hope to have some interesting topics today. Again, welcome to the show. This is Michael Marsh. How are you today, Michael?
Okay, you?
I'm doing fine.
That's
fine.
good. I hear you're thinking about running for Congress.
Yeah, I'm thinking about running for Congress. We've got a lot of issues that a lot of people aren't aware of that are going on. They've touched their lives and affected their lives, but they don't really have any idea of what's behind it and why that is. And a lot of it I know has to do with federal funding. So, but tell us a little bit about yourself today, Michael. What you've done in the past. And
Okay, well, I got started. I realized that things were really going downhill for the country. They passed NAFTA, which was designed to destroy the United States working class people. And I do come from a working class background. And things were getting more difficult, and the government was getting bigger and more out of control. You know, I'm kind of worried about what happened in Ruby Ridge, Idaho, the murder of a 14-year-old boy. He was shot in the back by U.S. Marshals, and then the FBI a couple days later assassinated his mother, shot her while she was standing in the doorway of a cabin with a 10-month-old baby in her arms. And then we watched what happened in Waco, where 85 men, women, and children, 17 of those children were under the age of 5, and they were murdered by federal goons, basically, jackbooted thugs. They just went in, murdered them, burned down the house. And neither one of these events should have happened.
right.
And so, at a political meeting, I met a guy that was doing a program for CCTV, and I talked to him and said, community access. And so I came here. I helped put on other programs, did a lot of volunteer work, and I started up my own program. And one of the main reasons was, okay, most politicians, the rich ones, they like to concentrate on the 30-second sound bites. A lot of money goes into these sound bites. They hire public relations people, and it's canned. There's nothing real about the 30-second sound bites. But I do a half-hour program, and actually 20 minutes and 30 seconds, because there's the intro and the exit. So get people to say what they believe and what they are going to do, and give the people that watch the program a better idea of what they're doing. And even when it's not an election season, which it is right now, but there's always current affairs going on, things that people need to know about, and hopefully take a stand. So that's why I got involved. Give more than a 30. I think people need more than a 30-second soundbite.
Correct. Yeah, they need to be able to address these issues and feel like someone has as much concerned as they are about issues like DHS taking away parental rights and not abiding by the law, and people that they turn and make criminals out of, or don't educate. It's a serious problem. They definitely are working overtime and keeping the people dummied down so that we don't know. We know that it's happening, but we don't know exactly why or how it's and what angle they're coming at us. And these are serious issues that are affecting everyday people's lives and changing them. And they're not happy, and they need a place to come and be heard.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed, and one of the reasons I started becoming a candidate. Originally, I was helping other people, and just getting the message out there. And I noticed in, like I did programs with Will Gaston and some other people that had their babies or their children kidnapped by the state, and various other things. And I noticed that the government and doesn't what they say. They have sometimes a different language. A good example of this, one that everyone knows. Okay, when Bill Clinton was in trouble for his affair with Monica Lewinsky, he got on national TV, told the whole world, he said, whether or not he had done anything wrong depended on the definition of the word is. Right then, I'm saying, impeach this guy. If they got more than one definition for the word is, what can they do with all these other words?
Right.
Yeah, and they are, and he got away with it. He was able to say, okay, whether I did anything wrong depends on the word is, the definition, and he got away with it. And then a few years later, 9/11 happened, and they're declaring this war on terror, on terrorists. And they're not defining what the word terrorist is.
Right.
And so I became a candidate for Congress in 2004. Said, hey, we need a definition for this word terrorist. Because if we leave it blank, leave it open, then they can decide what a terrorist is. And they can make an arbitrary decision. And in fact, today, they're giving, the Obama administration is giving, they said they were at war with Al-Qaeda. They used Al-Qaeda and the Taliban as, what the American people think are terrorists, because of 9/11 and all that. Okay. But the government never defined terrorists. Today, Barack Obama is giving weapons to Al-Qaeda in Syria and military training and how to use it. These are Al-Qaeda fighters.
The same ones we call terrorists.
Yeah, the same ones that blew up, the World Trade Center.
There's something definitely wrong with this picture.
Yeah, and who are they calling terrorists? The Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Barack Obama, farmers who want to raise their cattle on federal land, Tea Party people who want to lower taxes and smaller government,
People who stand up for their rights as parents or mothers of children that have been imprisoned. They label us as terrorists now.
And it's insane. But that's what happens when you let them decide. Yeah, if they had put in a bill saying that these are what were considered terrorists, it would never have passed.
Right.
Because the people would have stood up and said no. But they left it blank, and that's why they left it blank. The people that want to murder us, they're allies of the government. American citizens who just want to be left alone are terrorists, and they are building concentration camps around the country.
Yeah, here in the U.S.
Very dangerous situation. So do you have any issues that you're pushing in your run for Congress?
Yeah, I'm going for abolishing DHS and trying to do away with the federal funding that's footing the bills for all of these, because they're not in the best interest of the children or the parents. For them to bring up past issues that a person's already been tried or convicted on, and using those as an avenue to come out and retake someone's children when that's been closed is, for my terms, it would be double jeopardy. You shouldn't be able to do this to the families, but they are, and we got it voted in a certain year that children should go to relatives on either side of the child's heritage, either the father or the mother, and So, but the federal funding for these issues need to be dealt with. If we had to fit the bill ourselves as a state, I don't believe we would be doing this as much as we are, you know, and wouldn't be offering incentives to take so many kids away and to offer bonuses for it, or and we would define our terminology a lot better, I'm thinking. So
Yeah, I agree. And the federal government, that's who's actually doing a lot of the funding, not all of it, you know, a lot of the state funding. But, you know, I've talked with legislators who are on the side of the people, and they can't get answers from DHS because of the federal funding. You know, they just tell legislators, you have no jurisdiction, you know, they can't do anything. And I'm thinking about running for the state legislature in this election cycle. And we definitely need people like you in Congress, and there's going to be a couple of others.
Laura Cole?
Yeah, she's willing to end the, she believes in ending the funding for the kidnapping of children. And Raymond Baldwin, who's another candidate for Congress that's willing to end that funding. And if we can get rid of the funding, then we can, in the state legislature, if I were in the legislature, I would put in a bill to just abolish that at the state level, and then the counties could set up their own organization, and the county commissioners would be responsible for the organization. If the organization gets crazy, you know, then there's somebody that's accountable. Right now, no one is accountable. When there's federal money, the federal government's involved, there is absolutely no accountability. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms got caught giving weapons to the Mexican drug cartels so that they could murder, rape, and rob the citizens of Mexico and the United States. And nobody got fired. Not, you know, they should have gone to prison, but
right.
They not only didn't go to prison, they did not get fired.
Or reprimanded or anything.
No.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
And they're using our tax dollars to fit the bill, and they're taking federal money as incentive to keep these programs going. And how anybody could sit back and have these children tormented, or our school teachers and our school buildings neglected so bad and not say anything is beyond me. And maybe it's because the people are so busy trying to survive that they don't realize it. But they realize it when their kids are taken, and they can't see them, or their loved ones are put in prison, or their homes are you know. And these are all real issues that need to be addressed, and these people need to be reached and encouraged to vote. I've been carrying voter cards with me so that when I run across these people on the streets, I can hand them, you know, voter's card, here, fill this out. You know, it's where it's going to start. The change is when we the people stand up together instead of having people stand alone.
Yeah, and you know, at the federal level, okay, talk about federal funding. You know, people tend to forget where they're getting the money. Where do you stand on the 16th Amendment, which is the income tax? Should we continue with it, or is it time to get rid of that?
We need to get rid of it, especially since it's being just used against us. I mean, we're paying for our own destiny. We're paying for our own destruction. Yeah, and why anybody would want to pay more taxes or have, you know, give money to the IRS or these people is beyond me. Especially when there's so many of us that are down and out in one way or another. This has touched all of our lives. Even the seniors aren't immune from it. You know, they have certain medicines they need and certain health care, and they're not getting it. And it's all due to federal funding and, you know, their incentives, you know, to downsize on the population.
Yeah, they want fewer humans.
Fewer humans, that's right.
And, you know, they've been caught allowing veterans to die. You know, the VA hospitals, they're just not treating them. And under Obamacare, that's going to become the norm. You know, you're going to decide who gets treatment and who doesn't. And there's a whole lot of people going to die.
Yep, but they said 1,000. I talked to one lady that has ties with the UN building, and she said that there's over 1,000 people a day in the senior category that passes away on things like sugar, diabetes, and high blood pressure. These are common things that can be cured, you know, at least not cured, but at least controlled. And 1,000 people, of seniors a day, are dying due to these incentives and federal funding, you know, and downsizing on the population. I don't see, you know, them running out and announcing this to everybody, but it's there. It's definitely there.
Yeah. Well, the guy who, the genius behind Obamacare, we call him the architect of Obamacare. His name's Emmanuel
Romney?
No, no. Rahm Emanuel was the chief of staff. His brother, I think his name's Isaac or Isaiah or something like that. Anyway, he wrote a paper, you know, saying that health care should be only for people between the ages of 15 and 45. You know, because prior to 15, they haven't really produced anything. They haven't contributed to society. And about 15 to 45 is the prime age group where you're at your height. And then after 45, you're on your way downhill anyway. Of course, it's the government class is still, and the bankers and the international corporate executives, they're still going to get their health care
Right.
after the
And their
45.
raises and their incentives.
Yeah, but for like people like you and me, and most of the people watching this program, we're not going to be getting it pretty soon. And they've already started with the Veterans Administration. And you know it's not going to end there. Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be going for everybody. So if you're thinking about running against Earl Blumenauer, he voted for Obamacare. But there have been attempts to repeal it. Do you think Obamacare should be repealed, you know, gotten rid of, or?
I believe it should be gotten rid of him. It's not in the best interest of the people, and it was designed. It was designed to put the little insurance companies out of business, and which is not good for anybody in the economy of jobs or lowering premiums. You know, it's just it's total chaos, and it's like the fox watching the hen house. You know, and we elect these people in office, but we should do a little bit better research on who we're electing and what they've done in their past. It's definitely going to be worth it in the long run to investigate these people and find out, you know, what their history is, you know, what their best interest is, and what their incentives are for the people.
Yeah. Earl Blumenauer has never done an honest day's work in his life. Same thing with Peter DeFazio in the 4th Congressional District. You know, they've never had an honest day's work in their life, and they don't really care about us.
Somehow these people just keep getting elected and elected over and over, and I don't know if it's just because it's easier to mark that little box, or if they just don't realize that what these people are doing behind the doors or behind the scenes. But if you've got kids, or if you care about the schools, and I'm sure, you know, some of us may not even have kids in school, but everybody, when there's a school shooting, it rouses eyes. It gets everybody's attention, and there's a lot of people concerned about it, but are they willing to make the change? Are they willing to sacrifice and get up the next day, like Rachel's parents did, and make a difference?
Yeah.
And that's why I started We the People. I want people to know that we the people need to stand together, or we'll all die alone.
And, you know, they try to use these mass shootings at the schools, which are horrible events. But, and I should point out, all these schools are gun-free zones.
Right.
It's illegal for honest citizens to have guns in these schools.
But we drug up our children every day with drugs. The pharmaceutical mafia is what I call them, and send them to school and then expect nothing to happen when they don't get educated because they've got disabilities or because it's not in the budget. I'm definitely against that budget cut word.
Well, definitely need to, at $17 trillion debt, we definitely need to figure out how we're going to spend the money. But they do a lot of wasteful spending.
Very wasteful spending.
A lot of money that shouldn't be spent on various things. But that does bring up an issue, talking about education. Should the federal government, like if you're in Congress, should the federal government even be involved in
No,
education?
absolutely not. That's why we have our sovereignty rights. That's why each station is allowed to do their own sovereignty and have their own rights and rules. We don't need people dictating us, and especially if they're not American citizens. They're not, and I'm not racist, but I love everybody equally, and but these are issues that need to be addressed. Our schools are at very high risk right now of more violence than that, and it's just to get control over them. So they have a right to take our guns or to control or punish parents for things that they have no control over when the schools are allowed to teach or not teach their children the way they need to be taught.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm not going to say that they're actually involved, but back in the 70s, there was a church committee, U.S. Senator Frank Church from Idaho, and they almost shut down the CIA. They, got it down a lot, and it was because they were doing these experiments on people here in the United States, and they were setting up these mass shootings, and Congress decided, hey, these are dangerous people and they're a threat to the United States people. And then after 9/11, those laws were repealed, and the CIA was pretty much given a blank check to do what they want again. I'm not going to say that they're actually involved, but do you think there should be an investigation to see if?
Yes, there should be. Anything that has, when there's a crime committed, as there was on Columbine and Thurston High School, somebody should be checking into what caused this crime, who divvied out all these medicines that cause these kids to be delusional, and who's keeping an eye on, who's watching the watchers, who's keeping an eye on these people. Yeah. Obviously not too many people, and if they're turning a blind eye to the fact that our children are being massacred. And it seems to be an epidemic that is happening almost at least once or twice a year now. And I wouldn't say I forbid my kids to go to school. I'm thankful that they're all grown, but I've got grandchildren that I'm concerned about, and that's another reason why we started We the People, because we want people that are concerned about these issues to be able to come and air out their issues on air and be seen and heard as it was intended with freedom of speech.
Yeah. Now, there was a showdown. It ended peacefully, although I'm not sure it's 100% ended. The federal government stole some cattle from a rancher down there in Nevada.
Took it across the state line.
Yeah. So, should the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, first off, should they have as much land as they have, which is most of it here in the western states, and should they have their own SWAT teams?
No, they shouldn't have their own SWAT teams. That's giving them a license to be criminals. And that's what they're doing. They're taking good law-abiding citizens and turning them into criminals, into gangs, and getting away with it at the expense of our children and our education system and the other people. There's accountability is coming, and it's coming fast. And there will be people held accountable, and whether they want to be responsible or not, the positions they hold are accountable, and the people are rallying together and standing together to make sure that people are held accountable for these. Definitely the doctors should not be able to hand these prescriptions out like they're candy when there's so much controversy and proof that shows violence behind these Zoloft and Paxil and all these other drugs that they hand out like it's candy, and no one again is being held accountable. It's time for accountability. If you or I did this, we would go to jail. That's accountability. Yeah. We would be punished. We would have to pay the piper for our actions. And here in Marion County is a good example. There's a lawsuit that's happened back in '96. The jury ruled in our favor by '98, and it's still going on, the fight for it. The children, half the children are grown now, but there's more children, and they're still using the same judges, the same lawyers, the same prosecutors to handle these issues. And it's time for accountability. It's time for we the people to get up and stand up and say something. Or be the next one on the list to be downsized is all I can say.
Yeah,
and no one's immune from it, that's for sure. Nobody is.
No.
It knows no colors, it knows no race, it's not prejudice. Death in these, it knows no colors.
No, the government definitely is not prejudiced. They hate all of us.
They hate all of us, yep. And we're just in the way. And they want to downsize. At one federal level that we deal with, they said over 500,000 people. That's a lot of people. Whose loved ones are going to go next? You know, well, whose kids are going to go next? How many of them are going to get shipped overseas before somebody says no more, no more, you know, exporting or exporting children? You know, why can you take a human life when back in the time it was considered slavery was abolished, gotten away with? But they're doing it every day in our courthouses and our institutionals, and it's got to stop. So what do you have planned for the future? We got a 1 minute and 27 seconds. What do you plan on? I know staying busy because you seem to be very busy.
Yeah, I'll be helping some candidates get their message out, and I might be a candidate myself. Thinking about running for the House of Representatives here in Oregon, or county commissioner. I haven't really decided, but you know the money's better at county commissioner. They make a lot more money. But the ability to make real changes, that's in the legislature. And, you know, I like the lady who's running for state senator, my state senator, Patty Milne. You know, I support her, so I'm not going to run against her. I like Betty Comp, who's my representative, but she votes the wrong way on 99% of the time. So I'm thinking about running against her, being a candidate for, you know, because we do need to make these changes. Take a look at these bureaucracies.
And we need to make them fast, that's for sure. We don't have no time to waste. Time's a ticking away, and we just don't have it. And well, we got like 20 seconds left, so we wanted to thank everybody for joining our show. And you can always call CCTV if you're interested in doing your own show or being a guest on one of the shows. 503-588-2288, and Miss Kelly would be glad to set you up an appointment to do your show. So make sure you call us up. All right, thank you, and good night.